I have been playing Yu-Gi-Oh for several years now. Ever since about 2016, I've been actually really starting to slowly get into Yu-Gi-Oh! And with the release of Link Summoning, the meta as it was started to change. Now, obviously at this point though, I had never even heard of links, nor was I even interested in them at the time, because I already disliked pendulum summoning, and I really liked at that time Z summoning. In fact, at that point, is my favorite summoning mechanic. Well, interestingly enough, for my birthday, I asked for a structure deck, my first structure deck, and I got, no joke, the Link starter deck, the one with Decode Talker in it and everything. After that, I got a crash course in how Link summoning works when the thing came out, essentially. And honestly, I thought it was pretty cool. At this point, though, I still was not interested in meta at all. I never even had heard of a thing called meta at this time. I was just playing with other people, so essentially I was a casual. And eventually, as the years went on, I started to really learn what meta was and what it meant, the term. And eventually, it brought me to here, where I am now playing meta decks, not in tournaments yet anyway. I hope to be able to get into a few once this whole situation goes by. But what I'm trying to say is that I originally, when I started, had my favorite monsters, and I had my least favorite monsters. And we all do. We all have those monsters where they're iconic, or you had a good time playing with their deck, stuff like that. Well, in today's video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over my top 10 favorite monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh! Of all time, as of right now. And without further ado, let's get into it. So, number 10 on my list, and I'll just get this out of the way first. We all have that one monster from back when, if you ever watched Duel Monsters, the original Yu-Gi-Oh series, we all have that one iconic monster that one of the main characters used that you still have a soft spot for. And mine is Red Eyes Black Dragon. Red Eyes Black Dragon is a level 7 dark attribute dragon type monster with 2400 attack and 2000 defense. And it's just a normal monster. Nothing too good there. But it was iconic at the time, and they even still print support for it nowadays, even though Blue Eyes and Dark Magician get most of it. Well, I didn't really like Blue Eyes White Dragon. Thought it was overrated at the time, even. And Dark Magician was just, I don't like magicians at all. And then you had this thing to where he was a dark dragon, and that piqued my interest. And ever since then, I've been keeping up with Red Eyes, and eventually we got Dragoon of Red Eyes, or Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. And that changed my outlook on the card quite a bit, I'm not going to lie. I feel that the card is very powerful, very broken, and it's changed my outlook on Red Eyes Black Dragon Original now. But I still hold a special place in my heart for it, even if Dark Dragoon is, well, yeah, enough said. So that's number 10. And number 9, and this one's going to surprise quite a bit of people that I put in my top 10 monsters. So some of the little backstory on this. So this next card, I was watching Yu-Gi-Oh! The movie. I believe it was the Dark Side Dimensions, and I was seeing all the new monsters, and that Kaiba was throwing out when he was dueling the hologram of Yugi, or Atem at that point, and all of a sudden, Atem throws out Celtic Guard of Noble Arms, and immediately I was interested. So Celtic Guard of Noble Arms is essentially it's a retrain of the original Celtic Guardian, and it's essentially a I don't want to say it's an it's a start of an archetype essentially. Because we had the Celtic Guard, and then we had the obnoxious Celtic Guardian, and then we got this thing. So Celtic Guard of Noble Arms, essentially what it does is it allows you to draw cards if you attack with it and deal damage, up to the number of Celtic Guard monsters you control. And this thing, it's level 4, that's 2100 attack points, so that's pretty good. And also it can be special summoned. It can special summon a Celtic Guard monster from your hand. The problem is that it can't attack while you have any cards in your hand. So there's the downside. But if this thing attacks and you say have 3 Celtic Guardian monsters on the field, which he does in fact count as one, you literally can just draw 3 right there, which is good. Now, yes, it takes a lot of setup, and is this a meta deck at all? No. The funny thing is, though, I found out about a month ago that somebody did, in fact, play second with Celtic Guard control, and this card was at the center of it all. That was funny. And so I actually did it myself, and I made the deck myself, and of course I didn't like win with it, but it was hilarious. And so that's essentially why Celtic Guard of Noble Arms is on here, because I just have fond memories of this card. And then next up on the list, number 8, we have boy. So people are gonna be if anybody knows about OTKs, well, FTKs, then this card is definitely going to come to mind immediately. We have Lyrilusk Assembled Nightingale. Like, everybody all of a sudden just clicks off the video right now. Worst list, dislike, comment, this list is wrong, Assembled Nightingale's worst card ever. Hashtag rigged. Nah. I don't really like I don't like the Lyrilusk FTK. I don't like FTKs in general. But this card, funny enough, is one of the first cards I ever pulled in a pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards at all. And obviously when I read it, I never read my cards at first, and I was like, oh, it's a 0/0 rank 1. I don't have level 1 monsters going in the binder. Well, it wasn't until I read it to where I figured out that this thing was actually pretty good. So it requires 2 or more level 1 monsters, and it gains 200 attack for each adhesive material attached to it. It also can attack directly, and it also can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of adhesive material attached to it. So if it has 5 materials on it, that is 5,000 points of damage that you can do directly. And once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach an exceed material from this card. To the end of this turn, Lyrilusk monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle card effects, and you take no battle damage. This thing, if it was just Lyrilusk Turbo and you were able to get 2 of these things out somehow, you would win. Like, right there, you just attack directly 9 times, which is barely enough over the 8,000 mark, which would get you the win. Now, this thing was not the card banned when Konami started locking down on FTKs. That would be the Tyrant Neptune, which allowed you to do, I believe I can't remember the fusion name, but you could loop the fusion that this card would have been a part of, and the fusion could burn, and then you could just recycle it for the Tyrant Neptune, and then Tyrant Neptune copies that monster, and then you burn again for game. Well, This card right here, was not hit on the ban list in any way, and just because it was one of the first ever ultra rares I pulled in a pack, it holds a special place in my heart, and which is why I put it at my number 8 spot. Now, on to my number 7 spot. So, number 7 is, well, it's essentially the one of the synchro monsters that a while ago people tried to see if they could make it work, and I don't believe it turned out too well, but people attempted to make this card work. Shooting Quasar Dragon is a level 12 light attribute dragon synchro monster with 4,000 attack and 4,000 defense. So, for all you casuals out there, this thing can fight Obelisk. Not that you would want it to fight Obelisk, because Obelisk sucks. It's going to be tormenting Obelisk. Now, this card must be synchro summoned and cannot be special summoned by other means. This card's maximum number of attacks per turn equal the number of non-tuner monsters use this synchro material for the synchro summon of this card. And once per turn when a card or effect is activated, you can negate the activation and destroy it. And finally, when this card leaves the field, you can special summon one Shooting Star Dragon from your extra deck. Woo-wee! That's a pretty okay card right there. Now, what's the problem with this card? Why did everybody try to make it work and just fail miserably? Well, it requires a tuner synchro monster plus 2 or more non-tuner synchro monsters. So essentially right there, that makes the card incredibly hard to bring out, which should already be a thing. But this card is quite hard to bring out, even in today's Yu-Gi-Oh! Normally you would do Formula Synchron with 2 more monsters whose levels equal 10, and then you'd be able to Fusion Summon. What am I saying? Fusion Summon? No. But it sort of felt like Fusion Summoning. You were getting rid of so many stuff for this. This thing takes, like, what, at least 6 monsters? Because it takes, at least anyway, 2 for the tuner monster, 2 for the one of the non-tuner, and 2 for the other non-tuner. So it's almost like you're using 6 monsters to get this one. And the negate, funny enough, cannot negate counter traps. That was hilarious when I found out that this thing cannot negate counter traps. So, yeah, but when I was first starting to watch Yu-Gi-Oh! Subs, the final episodes of 5Ds is what I started watching first, and then this thing dropped on the field, and immediately I was like, wow, this is a cool card. It's got so much attack points, it's a synchro monster. Yeah, it can negate anything if it wants to, and it can even go into Shooting Star Dragon, which is one of the best floating effects ever. And essentially, that is why I like Shooting Quasar Dragon, just because, I guess nostalgia purposes you might call it, but also people did try to make this card work, and it just was a little too hard to bring out seriously, on a serious level. Now, next up, we have number... people are going to be so angry when I say this. So for number 6, we have a card where currently today, people probably do not like this card at all. Just because there was a certain engine, let's say, that made this card real easy to bring out. So number 6, we have number S0, Utopic Zexel. Light attribute warrior monster, rank 0, but its rank is always treated as 1. Well, here's the thing. This thing requires 3 number Xyz monsters with the same rank, which obviously is sort of hard to do. But you can also Xyz summon it by discarding a rank up magic normal spell card, then using a Utopia monster you control as Xyz material, and you transfer the Xyz material to this card. This card Xyz summon cannot be negated. And when Xyz summon, your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated. Gains 1,000 attack and defense for each Xyz material attached to it. And the effect that literally ruins everybody's day. Once per turn quick effect, you can, per opponent's turn, you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card. Your opponent's cards and effects cannot be activated this turn. Wow! That is annoying to whoever you're facing. Good luck. Now, this card got insanely easy to bring out when the Numeron cards came out, because they had the Numeron gate cards were all numbers 1 through 4. So, and they also could easily be brought out with Numeron Network. So, you just had to activate Numeron Network, summon the 4 Numeron monsters, and then you just overlay 3 of them for this thing. You'll have 3,000 attack on your opponent's turn, 2,000, because you're definitely detaching from this. It's not like you wouldn't. And boom, your opponent just can't activate cards anymore. So unless they have a, I don't know, a 2,000 attack or more monster that they can normal summon, which, unless you're a Celtic Guard of Noble Arms, then you probably can't do that. This thing is just a board wipe in and of itself. And a lot of people do not like this card. It was recently, I believe it was banned in the OCG. It was like recently banned in the OCG. At least there they get what this card can do and how bad this card is for the game. Not Mystic Mine bad, which we'll get to that in another video. But this card, yeah, it's not good for the format, but why do I have it as my number 6? Well, funny enough, this is another one of the first cards I ever pulled in a pack. Apparently I got extremely lucky when I got my literal first pack of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I pulled this thing, and I didn't know what it did until I read it like that night, and I was like, wow, this is good. I can't bring this out at all. I had no number monsters whatsoever, let alone 3 with the same rank. And this card, for that reason, I'm putting it as my number 6. It's my list, so I can do what I want. Now, we're getting into the top 5. I'm cracking up on this one. So number 5 is a normal monster, and that's probably gonna give it away to some people already. Knowing me, if they know me, they know what this card, they know what's about to happen. So number 5 is Shiny Black Sea Squatter. And if you were still on the video, this would have been where most people would have clicked off probably. So Shiny Black Sea Squatter is a level 4, 2,000 attack Earth Insect monster with no effect. It's a normal monster. It's a vanilla. And it also has 0 defense on top of that. Why the frick is this my number 5? Well, because Giant Ballpark, a card that literally makes vanilla insects good. Now, Giant Ballpark, we'll get to that another day, is essentially what makes this card playable at all. Shiny Black Sea Squatter, off of Ballpark, if you send it to the graveyard off of Ballpark, you can summon this guy from the graveyard plus 2 more if you have him in your deck or even in your hand, or if you just bounced them in the graveyard before. So already off of Ballpark, you could send this to negate damage calc for one battle. And then you get 6,000 attack worth on 3 monsters, which is incredible. And also, this card works well with a card called Goki Pole, which, again, we'll get to that in another video. Goki Pole's effect is when it's sent to the graveyard, you can add a insect monster from your deck to your hand. Then if it was a vanilla, you can special summon it and destroy one monster your opponent controls with attack that's higher than that card. So already, anything that's above 2,000 attack can be destroyed off of Goki Pole summoning this card. Now, is there any other reason why this card is my number 5? No, I like Ballpark that much. It's one of my favorite decks of all time. And only for that reason do I have this on there. Now, for number 4, we have the card that I like to splash into just about any deck. Card that is one of the main things of Dragon Links. Revolver's Ace. We have Borreload Dragon. Normal Borreload. Not Sword. Not Savage. Normal Borreload Dragon. This is a Dark Dragon Link monster. Link 4 with an attack of 3,000. And this card is really good. It's generic material with a pretty decent effect. If you ask literally anybody who's read this card, it requires 3 or more effect monsters. Its effect is neither player can target this monster with this card with monster effects. That's already pretty good. And once per turn quick effect, you can target one face-up monster on the field. It loses 500 attack and defense, and your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to that. And then at the start of the damage step, if this card attacks an opponent's monster, you can place that monster in a zone this card points to and take control of it, but send it to the graveyard during the end phase of the next turn. Wow! So this thing just snatch steals a monster, and then it sends it to the graveyard on the next turn. That's pretty good. I mean, you literally sometimes if your deck does not have a way to counter this thing can just win games. Now it does have some weaknesses. If you just like Raigeki this thing, then it's gone, and among others, you can just non-target non-destruction removal it. Like the deck it's supposed to be in rockets. I believe it's Magna Rocket Dragon. When he's targeted by a Link monster effect, he can just send a card to a monster to the graveyard. So that's there, right there. Non-target, non-destruction. You send it to the graveyard, and that's it. That's all she wrote. Now, Borreload Dragon, I remember fondly from watching, again, the anime. But I also have put this card on, like, most of the other cards on this list. I've put this card in quite a few decks. This card, I don't know. He's that one card where I just keep adding in, and it just still works. So that's Borreload Dragon for you. And that is essentially why he is my number 4 pick. Now, for my number 3 pick, I knew I had to put one of these on here at some point, and I just had to put a Charmer, one of the 6 Charmer monsters on here. And originally, I was like, okay, well, which one? And then I remembered that, oh yeah, Area the Water Charmer Gentle is a card, and reason why I'm putting this up here is because Area is my favorite Charmer. I just like her over the others. It basically I put the Link variant on here because it's more useful than the other cards by quite a bit. I mean, yeah, the Charmer structure deck did come out, which did give a boost to Charmers, but Mostly, Area of the Water Charmer Gentle is a water attribute spellcaster link monster with 1850 attack, and it's a link 2. And the materials are 2 monsters, including a water monster, and it's always treated as a familiar possessed card. Now, its effects is you can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon that target to your zone this card points to, so it steals from the graveyard if your opponent's running waters, which, yeah, sure, might not come up very often, but I mean, it's something. And then, if this link summon card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed by an opponent's card effect while in its opponent's monster zone, you can add 1 water monster with 1500 or less defense from your deck to your hand, and you can only use each of its effects once per turn. Well, that effect alone is why people run some of the Charmers, because on Destruction, it literally can just get any attribute, its own attribute monster with 1500 or less defense. And the whole 1500 or less defense is better than 1500 or less attack by a long margin. Now, some monsters, they'll have high attack, but to counterbalance it, they'll have low defense. Which, I mean, yeah, they could have just said, add 1 water monster with 1500 defense, but they put 1500 or less, probably to make this thing a lot more generic and to sell a lot more money. Because from what I remember, this is a Starlight Rare, and yeah, money, 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 money is why this card was made the way it was. It was supposed to make it generic, and that's what they did along with the other 3 main Charmer monsters, RIP, Lena, and Dark. And yeah, that's all these reasons and a few more are why Area of the Water Charmer Gentle is my 3rd favorite Yu-Gi-Oh! Monster card. Now, on to number 2. Yeah, I don't know who wasn't expecting this card. We have number 81, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dora. Oh yeah, rank 10 trains. Gotta love them. So Super Dora, the Explorer, is a machine rank 10 Earth machine with 3200 attack and 4000 defense points. And with the effect of once per turn during either player's turn, you can detach and seize material from this card, then target 1 face-up monster on the field. That target is unaffected by card effects except its own for effects until the end of this turn. That is really good. It normally, anyway, for this card, helps trains or other decks get another turn if necessary. Because you can just target itself, and then all of a sudden this thing can't be affected by anything. If it's in defense mode, your opponent will have to beat over it with at least 4050 attack points or more, which sometimes, for some decks anyway, is hard to do. Unless you're running something like Dragon Link and you somehow manage to get a Borreload Dragon attached to Savage, which would give you enough. But still, this card is still really good as a wall to get to just stop your opponent from getting over it, and it's good at giving another turn to everybody who may need it. And this, I love rank 10 trains. I've been playing the deck for a while. Yeah, sure, it's not the best deck in the world. It's not tier 0, tier 1, or even tier 2. It's not even Rogue. But I still like playing the deck, and I really like this card. Gustav Max and Juggernaut Libe, those cards are... I like them as well, but like out of the 3, this one is just the one that really catches my eye, and I'm like, yeah, I like that one over the others. And these reasons are why number 81, Super Dreadnought Rail Cannon Super Dora, man, that's a long name, is my number 2 spot. And finally, my number 1 most favorite card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ever is Black Rose Dragon. Black Rose Dragon. My gosh, this card and I go way back. This is one of the first cards that ever remember getting at all. Funny enough, so I never started playing Yu-Gi-Oh until 2016. But I did in fact at one point my grandparents for Christmas got me Pokemon cards, and that's what I was into at that point. Well, all of a sudden, about 2010-ish, 2010-ish, all of a sudden, one of the packs of Pokemon cards I get is not Pokemon. It's actually Yu-Gi-Oh! And I open it up, and funny enough, I got Black Rose Dragon from it. And at the time, I was like, this isn't Pokemon, but this card does look cool, so I'll keep it. I don't know where it is anymore. I'm really upset. This card was like, I really like the design of it, even though I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh. But Black Rose Dragon essentially is a board nuke if your opponent lets it go off. That is. But this card has been used competitively quite a bit just because it evens the playing field just a bit. Yeah, sure, your opponent's in nowadays graveyard effects, yeah, but the new Rose Dragon support, the Blood Rose Dragon, got me incredibly excited. Because essentially you can just destroy all the stuff, and then you can just go into Blood Rose Dragon and then banish that stuff, and then your opponent, unless they're playing like Granmaju or something like that, or a banish heavy deck, would be in a very tight spot because their graveyards would essentially be reset and then they would have nothing to do about it. And also, when Blood Rose Dragon is destroyed, you can special summon a Black Rose Dragon, which right then and there, that's good. And also, yeah, sure, the special summon is not treated as a synchro summon, I don't think anyway. Um, there could have been some mistranslation there to where it actually is treated as a synchro summon. If they did that, then that's really good. It's way better. But this card, I have just, I don't know. I know it's like it's an ace monster and everything to one of the main characters from 5Ds, who I wish got a little bit more screen time than she did in the second season. But this card, oh my gosh, I cannot stop. I would never be able to stop talking good things about this card at all. The fact that it also can just banish a plant monster from the graveyard, then target a defense position monster your opponent controls, change it to face-up attack, and if you do, its attack becomes 0 until the end of the turn. So you could do like 2400 direct damage and stuff like that. That's just icing on the cake, I guess. Again, most people are never probably going to use that effect ever, unless you know you're playing actual Rose Dragon, a plant Rose Dragon, in which case go ham. But yeah, Black Rose Dragon, this card is my favorite Yu-Gi-Oh monster of all time, and probably my favorite card, and that's more than likely not going to change unless some sort of freaking anime cards get printed where it's like Konosuba or stuff like that, and even then, probably this card is always going to be my number one spot. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. I'm probably going to do a top 10 least favorite monster cards at some points, but I got some stuff starting up soon. I'm going to start college soon, so I'm probably not going to be able to do that for a bit. But whenever I do actually end up having the time, I will in fact come back and I will make that video. But yeah, this video is just one that I really have been wanting to make for a while. Thank you all so much for watching. I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.